Hey guys, welcome back. This is Luke from Guild Umbra. In this video, we're going to touch base on a warrior build. Um, I know in the past I've done overviews, so basically what I've been doing with my channel and whatnot is going back and putting in some builds and just to be a little bit more specific and talk about pros and cons maybe of run certain abilities and situations, even priorities. That will be most optimal. Um, we're going to talk about the tanking role of the warrior. Just a little update with me. Still waiting for head start or early access from Wildstar, so I am going stir crazy because I'm off of work and I'm not good with downtime that I can't be spent playing Wildstar or other games and whatnot. And really and truly, I'm most excited about Wildstar. So I mean, there's other games I play, but um, at this point, I just rather just wait and spend a majority of my energy and time talking about Wildstar because I'm super stoked about it coming out. I don't know about you guys, but anyway, let's get right down to it. Uh, in the past, I talked about the warrior having stances. You have like a assault stance or DPS stance, and then you have a defensive stance, bulwark in this case. That's the one we're going to be using as the tank warrior, and it's a pretty nice innate active. It reduces damage and whatnot. I don't have the figures right in front of me at this moment, but basically it's a good mitigation innate. That's on a somewhat lower cooldown uh, than that of say the engineer innate. So anywho, let's dive right in. First ability is Menacing Strike. It's our basic builder of our kinetic energy, which is what we need to build up to use other abilities like Jolt and um, things of that nature. But anyway, its basic attack builds 130% threat, can hit up to 5 foes. And you'll see later when we talk about the amps that this ability's, instead of building 300, it builds a lot more kinetic energy, which gets us to the thresholds we need to be able to use other abilities and allows us to, keep it up as much as possible, so we don't have to use this attack as much. So, anyway, moving on. Jolt is a threshold ability, like I was talking earlier. Um, it's a small AoE conal telegraph, and based off of, as you can see here, the kinetic energy you have at the time, it does a certain amount of damage. So obviously, you want to be around the 750 plus kinetic energy to do the most damage, and in turn do the most threat to those enemies. Because one of the issues warriors have is threat, and also especially AOE threat. So good ability, to say the least. Moving on, this is our, this falls in our priority pretty high because of the fact that it gives us that defense, which reduces damage taken by 30%. But it's a channeled ability, 3 seconds. The damage is done is minimal, so I would highly suggest like using this maybe after you built enough threat up. Um, and it's just like I said, it's one of those things that it's a mitigating ability that helps with the burst damage that we may be taking or we will be taking. Anywho, moving on. Atomic Spear. This is an on-proc ability. In the past, I haven't used it. Really, no good reason why I haven't. Probably because the amount of ability slots that I had open, I just felt other abilities were more important. But it's also a good threat builder. Generates 175% threat, which is, as you can tell by looking through the abilities, the highest threat we can produce. So that's why I pick it. It's on proc. Like I said, you have to deflect an attack to have it available to you. There's no kinetic energy threshold that you have to be able to use it. Just you have to be able to deflect the attack first. So next is polarity field. I typically like to use this, even though it's more attuned to PvP. I use it because of the idea of AOE threat being such a issue with the warrior. I like to use it off the bat on multi-mob pulls, just to help me build that threat while I'm also building up my kinetic energy to use other abilities. So again, it's one of those things that people debate and say that's not worth. To me, you know, I know the weakness of the warriors. I've tanked a lot with the warrior, and I know and can relate to a lot of the concerns they have with the tanking warrior at this point. Um, Hopefully, Carbine does some things to fix it. But in the meantime, we have to deal with what we have, and what we have is issues with AOE threat, burst damage to us, and kind of an AOE taunt too. I mean, we have one later on, but you have to reach a certain level threshold to unlock it. But anywho, moving on. Utility, I took kick uh, because we want to bring something to the table that it destroys interrupt armor. It can be somewhat hard to land, but because of the telegraph size. But it's something that we have in our arsenal to use. Um, the next ability is taunt. I think you have to take this as a tank anyway. Having a taunt on your bar is kind of a big deal, especially with the concerns that I was talking about earlier with threat. Um, Defense grid. I love this ability. It's basically it creates a big circular telegraph field for you and your allies, um, and it reduces the amount of damage taken to everyone inside that field. So it's another defensive cooldown, I like to call it. And from my experience, there's a lot of bosses that do AOE damage across the board to all members. So having this up and using it properly uh, allows you to stay alive better. There's this one video where me and my buddy, he's the healer, and it's just me and him alive. Um, and just from alternating defense grid with my innate bulwark, I was able to stay alive and keep him alive too, um, and almost down the boss between the two of us. So it's kind of a big deal, and I just don't and can't find a reason not to have this on my bar. So while we're here, we'll go ahead and talk about the ability tiers. I take the tier 4 here to increase my deflect chance by 2.5%. May not seem like much, but every little bit counts. The idea of the deflect is not that it reduces the damage upon deflect, it negates the damage. So anything that I can choose to lower the amount of damage I'm taking makes my healer happy. So moving on, the next tier that I picked up was again for the same reason, Plasma Wall. Tier 4, it additionally increases deflect chance by 7%. So between this and Defense Grid, I have a 9.5% increase to my deflect chance, which is pretty freaking sweet. So again, that's another reason why I was talking about earlier, that as long as your threat is high enough, using this on cooldown will really make your healers happy. So anyway, Tier 4, Jolt. It reduces technology resistance by 12.65% for 10 seconds. It's just something else you bring to the table. Medics do technology damage, so you're buffing their damage. Other warriors do technology damage, so you're buffing their damage by using this. I'm sure there's one I might have missed. No, I think that's it. But you bring something else to the table. You yourself don't do a lot of damage, but by using this ability, because you're going to use it anyway, it's a bonus to have that technology resistance debuff on targets. So anyway, the tier 8, landing a hit on a foe exposed by Jolt, grants a 25% chance to reduce the cooldown of stance Juggernaut. I think that's maybe. No, it's not. I think that's supposed to say Bulwark too. Um, if it doesn't, then obviously I would go only as far as tier 4 upgrade and maybe put my points elsewhere. For example, like Atomic Spear is not a bad one to put into for tier 4. Since it's our highest threat builder, even though it's on proc of a deflect. It also additional deflects increased damage dealt by 9.909%, stacks up to 3 times. So you can really produce some serious threat on it on mobs by taking that tier 4, which I think I'm going to go ahead and switch up now and take that. You can make an argument that the tier 4 polarity field would be bad. Again, it's one of those things that I don't think is needed due to the fact that the field it produces is plenty big enough in the first place. Moving on, Menacing Strike. Take the tier 4 is 50% chance to grant efficiency for 5 seconds, which is reduces the kinetic energy decay by 3.4% for 5 seconds. Stacks up to 3 times. So it basically allows us to not have to use this ability as much to keep our kinetic energy up. It's kind of similar to the DPS warrior. So, anywho, the tier 8, 30% chance to restore a certain amount of health based off our support tower. Again, it's one of those things that I think is pretty damn important, since one of our weaknesses is taking burst damage. And since this is our basic attack to build kinetic energy, and we're going to be using it anyway, why not? So anyway, that covers the abilities and the tiers I've chosen. I guess I can really say that maybe you can switch out some things here. For example, Power Link isn't bad, although you do have to spend points in the utility tree to get there. And as in my opinion, if you're able to do that, then you do it by all means. Especially if you don't have a warrior running in your party, or if you're in a raid group and you want to keep this buff up as much as possible. Coordinate with your group and use it when another warrior isn't using his. So to increase damage, basically is what it does. Honest to God, I don't see a whole lot of other things you could use. Grapple's okay, because it destroys interrupt armor. Early on, I was doing this like tauntless build where I'd have kick and grapple, and I had it on such a low cooldown that I was basically able to unlock more moves for my party, which increased the damage everybody does to those mobs. So it's kind of a big deal. However, I don't suggest it if you're having problems with threat, which is one of our weaknesses, again. Other than that, Unstoppable Force is a CC breaker. It's situational, so maybe pop it on your bar in those situations where you'll need a CC break. So that is about it. I've seen a few people use emergency reserves. I'm not too fond of the ability, to be honest. It's okay, but it's not something that I see me taking like defense grid off, for example, to replace it, or a taunt off to replace it. We're kind of overloaded with abilities, and we're limited on the amount of abilities we can select in the first place. So I just chose not to go with it. That's just my opinion. But if I was to switch out anything, it would probably be the kick. I could probably get away with switching out one of these polarity fills, maybe, um, for Unstoppable Force or even Grapple. But I kind of don't like taking away the one ability that gives me the most AoE ranged threat. So, anyway, moving on. I think we touched enough on the abilities. Let's talk about the amps. Amps are received from level 6 to level 50, 1 amp per level. And in order to get up to the max you can receive, which is 55 amps, you have to get something called Eldritch Gems. Because otherwise you're stuck at 45, which is what I have amp points right now. But amps are similar to other skill trees and other MMOs. Static stat increases or on proc abilities can occur, and so it covers a lot of ground there. But Elder Gems are only gotten through daily questing. There are other ways I think too that you can receive them. For example, when you do hit 50, you can still gain experience, and as you fill up that bar and completely fill up that bar, it resets again. But you also receive an Elder Gem. And Elder Gems are used to buy the 10 remaining amp points, among other things. Um, Action sets, stuff like that. So anyway, diving right into the build, I can't see a reason why you wouldn't want to take Deflect. Same thing with Support Power. Deflect critical hit chance. The thing about this is I've seen a lot of people talk about it, but very few have really explained it. In the event that you do take a critical hit, uh, it doesn't happen often. So I think that's maybe why a lot of people don't take a lot of points and put it in there. Um, that's the only reasoning I can come to with my conclusion of reading forums and whatnot. But next one is Full Force. Landing a hit has a 50% chance to grant threaten, which is increases your threat generation by 25%. So can only occur every 15 seconds. Again, this kind of supplements one of our issues, which is threat, as the warrior. So definitely worth taking. MK2 Battle Suit. When taking physical or technology damage, you have a 10% chance to restore 80.45% health. Can only occur every 3 seconds. I like this because of the cooldown. Even though the chance is pretty low for it to happen, in the event that it does, your healer's pretty happy. He probably thinks you pop a potion or something there, but it's like I like to think of it as a free potion. That can be up every 3 seconds. Next, kinetic buffer. While above 500 kinetic energy, you gain defense, which increases your damage mitigation by 4.5%. Doesn't seem like much, but like I said, it supplements one of the issues warriors have, which is burst damage, or damage across the board. And at least until something is done about resistances, to where, I just don't feel like the warriors, when I'm wearing heavy armor, and I'm taking more damage than, say, a stalker who's wearing medium armor, even though they're evasive tanks and we're more mitigation tanks, or shield tanks, I don't feel that's very balanced at the moment. So, just my opinion. But until they fix that, the point I was making was, you could obviously take this out if you wanted to and move it somewhere else. But since we're focusing on mitigation and trying to supplement some of the weaknesses we have as the warrior tank, I would take it. Next one is full defense. While above 500 kinetic energy, you gain defense. So these two work about the same. The only difference is that this one increases deflect and deflect critical hit chance by 5%. So again, it's anything we can take to mitigate some of the damage we take makes our healers very happy. And being a former healer, I am happy. With a tank that can do those things. To the pain, taking damage that would kill you instead restores a lot of health, but drains health every 1 second for 15 seconds. Can only occur every 5 minutes. I like to think of this amp as a buffer to allow my healer to catch up in the event, whatever the situation may be, where he's not able to get enough heals on me in time. It allows me to stay alive and allows the party to stay alive, because usually when the tank dies, it's rest in peace to the party. Usually. I didn't take Bolstering Strike for the same reasons I think I explained in my overview. It just feels very underwhelming. I like the idea behind the ability, but it's just not. It's not something I would invest points into, and not something I would have on my limited action set. That is until they change it. If they change it to where it's actually useful and beneficial, in other words, the damage it doesn't really correlate to the amount of shield it restores. And there's other abilities, in my opinion, that do a lot better with threat. And then their tiers also offer a lot more. So that's the reason I don't take that. Fortify, while above 50% shield, gain defense. Increases armor by 25% of your current maximum. The problem I have with this ability is not that it's a bad amp at all. It's just I've found that in very rare cases I'm above 50% shield, so I don't really take advantage of this amp. Is what I'm trying to say. Now, if it was like changed to where I was, well above 50% health, I gain defense. Well, then I would definitely take it. Because again, anything that we can take to help with the mitigation is going to help us overall. It's going to make our healers happy, and we want to keep our healers happy. I assure you. Strike through to help with, making sure our abilities don't get deflected as much. Kinetic bursts. This is the one I was talking about earlier. That the attacks that build kinetic energy will build an additional amount of kinetic energy. So this synergizes really well and gets us to the thresholds we need to get to be able to do optimal damage and maybe switch up and use other abilities. So this is a easier way for us to not have to wait as long to use other abilities that are more important. For example, like Jolt. The sooner we can get above 750 kinetic energy, the better. So just something to think about. I went ahead and took it. Like I said, since we're a shield tank, even though it doesn't seem like it right now, I took shield capacity to basically get to this guy, which is when your shield is depleted, it restores 282% shield, even though the cooldown's kind of long for 2 minutes. It's still, in my opinion, a valuable amp to have. Because I don't know if you people know this, but when your shield is up, say for example the boss does 100 damage to you, 25% of that damage hits your shield. The remaining 75% hits your health. So any opportunity I have as a warrior tank to have my shield restored allows for more mitigation in the long run, if that makes sense. So that's the reason I take that out. Again, I go down cooldowns, basically to reduce the cooldown of Plasma Wall, reduce the cooldown of my Atomic Spear. It's very useful all around the board. Polarity Field has a lower cooldown. So, even my defense grid and taunt and kick, it affects a lot of things in our arsenal. So that's the reason I take it. Okay. I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to go over in this video. Real quick, I'll re-emphasize the weaknesses and the pros of the warrior. Right now, the playstyle of the warrior seems very boring. For the most part, you're keeping menace and strike up, and then using other abilities as you can. It's one of those things that you have to gauge where you're at in your threat on those mobs. At the point to where, uh, you know, and the reason I say this is so you can use other abilities. Okay. Um, Plasma wall is kind of a big deal, but using this straight out of the gate, one, it doesn't do threat. Um, and it's one of those things that you're gonna get pulled off of if you run in, do 2 menacing strikes, and then pop plasma. It's one of those things that you have to build up your threat. So you have a lot of ramp up time. That's one of the cons of the warrior. Um, it and because of that, it's somewhat boring. Okay, it can be very boring. I'll say that. I always like to smash people in the face anyway, so that's why I play warrior anyhow. Um, that and a big freaking sword. So, but moving on, another con is in the current state of the game, until Carbine really takes a hard look at how resistances are affecting um, players, we're still going to have the same issues as the other tanks do. Um, the only difference is the other tanks have a lot more abilities to sort of hide those weaknesses, which are, burst. Across the board, all the tanks take a lot of burst damage. So, but they also have a lot of abilities that supplement that burst damage. Whereas the tank warrior, he doesn't have as much. Yeah, he has defense grid. Yeah, he has, a bunch of amps that reduce physical damage or reduce damage taken and increase our mitigation. But, just thinking out loud here, and like I said it earlier, and I mentioned it earlier, if I'm a heavy armor class and I'm taking more damage than, say, a medium armor class, there's something wrong. Because my mitigation should be a lot higher than a medium armor tank. And from my limited experience, and from what I've seen of the forums, this is not occurring. There's still way too much burst damage for a heavy armor class. So until Carbine addresses this and looks at it, warriors in the current state of the game are going to be considered like an off tank, compared to the stalker and the engineer. Yeah, one of the things that they did increase was the amount of threat generation your stance produces. So that helped a lot with some of the threat generation problems. I haven't had the opportunity to test it, but I see a lot of people are happy about that. Um, I think that's about it. The cons being, too much burst damage, boring to play somewhat. The pros being that, they've done some looking into the threat generation problem, so it may be improved now quite a bit than it used to be. But we still, the cons are overweight the pros right now of running a tank warrior. Um, don't get me wrong. I don't want to talk you guys out of not playing the warrior in the tank role. I'm just letting you know, opening your eyes a little bit to see what you're going to end up dealing with. Okay. So anyway, that pretty much covers what I wanted to talk about in this video. If you guys like what you saw, please take a chance to hit that like button and leave me some feedback, some comments on YouTube. And let me know what you think. Maybe I need to change or do differently in my videos. If you're a Twitch user, you can follow me on Twitch by searching my name. It's Big Dog LB, my username. I've got a lot of WildStar video content out there already, and I'm going to continue to produce content because I like it. So anyway, this is Luke from Guild Umbra. Also, if you guys are interested in playing WildStar and you want to get into a pretty cool guild, come check us out, Guild Umbra, and apply. I've had a lot of fun playing with the guys that are currently in the guild, and I'm really looking forward to launch, doing some stuff together, and even raiding, maybe in the long run. I'd like to see us do that. I think it's very possible to do that. So if you're interested, sign up. Come join us. Again, this is Luke from Guild Armor signing off. Not sure what I'll jump into next, or if I will do any more videos today. Kind of want to take a break and do some real life stuff. But maybe we'll see as we go along. Like I said, I got a lot of days off between now and Head Start, or early access rather, on the 31st. So I got a few days still before I'm actually playing the game. So anyway, I'm gonna stop talking now and let you guys do what you need to do. Appreciate you guys popping in. We'll see you next time. Thanks.